Hi there, my name is Tom. I am a maritime English teacher. I work on School Ship Gone, a high school for seafarers in Stavanger, Norway. Today I'm going to be looking at MarEng, the introduction. MarEng is a fantastic learning tool, piece of software you can download to your computer and bring to sea with you. It's like a textbook, but even better, you can hear the text being spoken and you can look up any words that you are unsure of, as well as there's exercises and you can get the answers right away. So it is fantastic. I'm going to be going into the intermediate level, so when you download the program and install it, this is the page you'll see, and then you just click on intermediate and you'll have the different units in the intermediate section. Today I'm going to be going into introduction. If you haven't seen my videos on Unit 1, Lead In 1 and Lead In 2, check those out as well. But today I want to go into the introduction. So click on that, and this is the page that comes up. Now, if there's any words you don't understand, you can click on this book here. It's a dictionary, and a dictionary will pop up, and you'll be able to look up the words you're unsure of. Of course, it's an English dictionary, but that helps a lot as well to clarify some words. If there's any instructions for exercises, whatever you don't understand, you can click on the I for information. And when you have a text like this, you'll generally see play, which you can click on, and you can have the text read for you aloud. So let's go ahead and listen to the first text of Voyage on the MS Marina.
You are about to set out on a sea voyage on the Marina, a multi-purpose dry cargo ship of 12,000 deadweight tons. During the voyage, you will learn about life and work at sea, about the maritime field as a whole, and most important of all, you will learn maritime English. So welcome on board and join us for an adventure at sea.
All right then. Well, even this small little paragraph, there's quite a few words that might be a little confusing to you. If you don't understand the term deadweight tons, the abbreviation DWT, we're going to go into that in a second. But first, let's just talk about a multi-purpose dry cargo ship. Now, it's a good chance you might be working on one of these yourself, because this is like the truck or the lorry of the seas. There are a lot of them all over the world. But a multi-purpose dry cargo vessel is exactly what the term says. The name, multi-purpose. It's designed to carry, handle, stow. We talked about that last time in a video where you put the different cargo on a ship. A variety of what we call general cargo is called break bulk cargo. So a multi-purpose vessel will take general cargo, break bulk, also bulk cargo, as well as containers. But it's a dry cargo vessel, so it's not going to take liquid bulk cargo. It might take bottles of wine or barrels of beer on pallets in boxes, but it's not going to take liquid bulk cargo. So general break bulk, that could include lots of things. Forestry products, for example, timber, which is cut into 2x4s or planks or just firewood. Of course, manufactured goods, all types, but heavy equipments, vehicles. It's not going to all be vehicles because then it would go on a row, a roll on, roll off. Different types of machinery, bag goods, steel, food products. All this, it could be on pallets and they could be in or out of containers. So that's a multi-purpose dry cargo vessel. Now, there's also what's called a break bulk vessel, also known as a piece goods or just a general cargo vessel. Now, break bulk vessels, they do not take bulk. They take just packaged goods that come in crates or bags or bales, usually manufactured goods, and these goods are for individual consignees, and consignees are the recipients, the people who will receive the goods at the point of destination. So kind of think like Amazon or FedEx for a ship. You have lots of different senders, lots of different receivers, and so these will be loaded and unloaded piece by piece at each point of transfer and then sent along to the consignee, which is the receiver at the point of destination. Okay, so we have two types of vessels. They almost look the same. I'm going to try to show you the difference here in just a second. But what is kind of important to know is that these multi-purpose or break bulk cargo ships, they are often geared vessels. This is a key term, geared vessel. When we say a vessel is a geared vessel, we mean they have their own cargo handling facilities, which means they have their own cranes or derricks, and these can be many different types and styles with a range of how much they can lift, lifting capacity, how far they can reach out over the side of the ship to quayside to pick things up. And they can handle lots of different types of cargoes. Now, a geared vessel is important because you can go anywhere to any quayside and pick up cargo. If you're not a geared vessel, you are limited to only those ports that have cargo handling equipment to help you get cargo on and off the ships. If not, if you're a geared vessel, you can go almost anywhere to load and unload cargo because you've got the cargo handling facilities yourself. So that's a big advantage. So when we're looking at cranes and derricks, there is a difference. A crane is not a derrick, and a derrick is not a crane. Here you can see up here a basic crane. Now, a basic crane is going to have a stay which is stable, locked. So the jib cannot move up and down. It can just swing horizontally around. That's a crane. But a derrick, and here you can see a typical ship or barge derrick, you can see the stay is not stable. You have a rope, so the actual boom can extend, can lower down over the side of the vessel and pick up cargo. So here you can see on a typical piece goods ship or a break bulk, this is a derrick. So the derrick can revolve around to the outside of the ship, lower down to quayside, pick up cargo, and then revolve back around and drop that cargo into the cargo holds. So it's very, very useful. Now, there's one more crane you should be aware of. Here, the gantry crane, and you see this at shipyards or dry docks whenever you're in for repairs. This type of gantry crane, it is on rollers that can go forward and aft on a ship, and also it's got a chain block which can lower equipment or whatever up and down anywhere on the ship from starboard to port. So it's on rollers going forward and backwards. So a gantry crane. And a derrick, which has got a movable boom, where a basic crane, the boom or the jib, is pretty much stuck in place, can't do anything. So yes, in Norwegian we call piece goods stick goods. So what's a typical stick good ship is what here we're calling a break bulk vessels. It used to be known as a piece goods ship, but not really anymore. It's known as a break bulk vessel. What's typical for these ships is the superstructure is aft, and you see this is a geared vessel, and you can see cargo hold hatches on the top, but really no way of putting containers. I don't see anywhere you can put containers. So this is not a multi-purpose. It's a strictly general cargo, or what we say a break bulk vessel. Here's another one, and here very clearly this as well has got derricks. You can see here that you have a wire pulling the boom so it can go up and down, and here you can see very clearly the cargo hatches, and again the superstructure is aft. So this is a break bulk vessel. There's really no place to put containers. And here let's take the next, and here's a diagram of a multi-purpose dry cargo vessel. Here you can see we have cranes, three cranes, which again the boom, or known as the jib, is stuck, so they can just revolve around horizontally. But it's taking containers, so containers on top of the cargo holds, and below in the holds you can take bulk, you can take break bulk. Lots of different cargoes. But of course, it's dry, so it's not going to take any liquid cargo. There's no liquid cargo tanks here again. But, of course, the superstructure, again, is aft in the ship. But we have this term, 12,000 deadweight tons. Now, that's the way we measure the size of a vessel generally at sea. So it's a good idea to have an idea in your head, well, how much is 12,000? I mean, what's the largest type of vessels at sea today? And, well, it goes up to 250, 300,000 deadweight tons for the very large crude carriers, or what's known as the ultra large crude carriers. So it can get pretty up there. So 12,000 actually is, kind of a small vessel. But exactly what is deadweight tons? Well, that's what I'd like to explain to you now. It's the abbreviation DWT, and in Norwegian we say deadweight ton. But what's really important for you to understand is that deadweight tons is not tonnage. Tonnage is something completely different. Tons is a weight. Tonnage is volume. Okay, so tonnage is the measure of the size, the volume that a ship has for carrying cargo capacity. Not just that, for a port. When we talk about how much cargo goes through a port any one day or year, we talk about the tonnage that passes through the port. We talk about how much cargo is at sea at the moment. We talk about the tonnage at sea. So tonnage is volume. Whereas to understand deadweight tons, you're going to have to understand a couple other terms first. Okay? So when we look at the weight of a ship, not the volume or the capacity that it has for cargo, but when we look at the weight, which is what deadweight tons is referring to, first we have to look at the term displacement. Now, displacement, this is the total weight, the actual total complete weight of the vessel, including everything, not the ship itself, but also the cargo, passengers, the fuel, lubrication oil, provisions, everything that is on the ship. Now, if you remember your classic math history, Archimedes had been challenged if he could come up with the weight of the king's elephant. And so Archimedes, he took this elephant and he put it in a pool of water which was filled to the top, to the brim, and he caught all the water that fell out of the pool when he put the elephant in. And he weighed that water, and that was the weight of the elephant. So yes, displacement is the weight of the water that the ship pushes out of the water, basically. What's what we call it? Displacement. It's the total weight of the ship pushing that weight of water out of the water. Okay, so that's displacement, total weight of the ship. But then you've got to look at light ship. Now, light ship is almost the opposite of displacement. It is just the weight of the ship itself. If we take away everything else, the crew, the passengers, the cargo, the fuel, anything that can be taken off the vessel that's not nailed down or welded down, that is what's called light ship. So, then, what is deadweight tons? Well, deadweight tons is the total weight of the ship, displacement, minus the weight of the ship itself, light ship. Okay, let's look at it. Displacement, again, is the total weight of the vessel, and light ship is the actual vessel itself with nothing other than the metal and the tubing and the piping. So deadweight is the weight of everything the ship is actually carrying. So it's not just the cargo, but it is the capacity of the ship to carry weight, is what we're talking about. Weight of cargo, yes, but also of crew and passengers and fuel and water and provisions. Okay, so you got to think of deadweight tons as basically the of the engines, the ability of the engines to pull weight through the water, and not just the weight of cargo, but of the ship itself. Yes, well, no, we're talking about the everything on the ship, the crew, the provisions, all the weight, not just the weight of the cargo. So I tend to think of it as the roar of the engines, the ability, the strength of the engines to pull the weight. Dead weight is what we're talking about through the water. Okay? So most important thing to understand here is that dead weight tonnage, DWT, is not the same thing as tonnage, gross registered tonnage. Okay? Deadweight tonnage is the weight expressed usually in tons or pounds, 2,240 pounds each. Gross registered tonnage, GRT, that is volume of space that the ship can take cargoes, either within the hull or above deck, that's available for cargo, stores, fuels, passengers, crew. It's usually measured in 100 cubic feet, units of 100 cubic feet, so square meters. And so for my Norwegian students, deadweight tons is weight, and tonnage is room, is volume. Very important distinction there. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on. I clicked on the Marina on the last page, and so here I get another small paragraph. So let's listen to that.
The Marina. The Marina is a multi-purpose dry cargo vessel of 12,000 deadweight tons. She carries general cargo, for example, metal in coils, and bulk cargo, such as grain, coal, ore, fertilizers, timber, and 20 feet and 40 feet containers. She has her own cranes and derricks for loading and unloading the cargo. She was built in 1992 at the Wärtsilä shipyard. Length, 137 meters. Breadth, 22 meters. Draft, 7.5 meters. Speed in full load, 17 knots.
Right, so she's not so big, but if we look at our own ship Gone, school ship Gone, used to be Navik, which was the Norwegian Coastal Express ship. She was built in 1992, so she is about over 35 years old. This ship is only 25 years old. This ship's length is 137 meters, and our ship is about 100 meters, so she's bigger than what we've got. But let me just jump into some of these words in this paragraph as well to explain them. Now, we talked about deadweight tons. We talked about what is a multi-purpose dry cargo vessel as opposed to a break bulk or general cargo, or what you know as a peace goods vessel, Norwegian styckegodsskip. When we get into general cargo, some of these words might be new to you. Grain, corn, coal, coal, ore, malm, fertilizers, that's what you use to help plants grow. Timber is forestry products, things coming from trees. And then you have containers, two different sizes, 20 and 40 foot containers. Now, she's a geared vessel. She has her own cranes and derricks. And yeah, some of these specifications, and this is what we call ship specifications, the length, the draft, the breadth. I'm going to get into and try to explain those. But first, let's just look at length. Now, you can't just say a ship's length is, what did they say, was 137 meters. There's actually different types of lengths. We have one here called length overall, LOA. And this is from stem to stern. It is the real length of the vessel, from the very tip of the bow to the very end of the stern. So that's one length, LOA, length overall. But we also have what's known as LPP, length between perpendiculars. And this is the length that you would give to the pilots or the VTS when you're coming into a berth, because you can see LPP, length between perpendiculars, that length changes depending on whether the ship is heavy with cargo or light. If the ship is filled to capacity, she's going to sink down in the water. The water line is going to be higher, and so the length is going to be longer. All right? The lower down in the water, it's going to be a longer. And higher up in the water, it's going to be shorter. And that's just to know for berth size, because a lot of times going into berth, it's very tight spaces, and they need to know the size. Now, registered length, that is what you have with the, for example, the Norwegian Maritime Directorate, is what is registered as the length of the ship. Now, this, as with the LPP, the length goes from the rudder head up to not the water line, but the crossing point inside the bow plate in the upper deck. Okay, so you don't really need to know, but know that when we say length, we're generally talking about length overall. But there are these other two specifications that are used as well. Okay, great. So that's length. Now, if we look at cargo again, in my lead-in 1 and lead-in 2 for Unit 1, I talked about different types of cargoes. And here we see stevedores. That's what we call the dock workers that help to load and unload vessels. Here you can see they are either loading or unloading cargo in crates. I talked about crates, I talked about bales, boxes, yeah. And here, as the paragraph talked about, here is metal in coils. It looks like metal cable in coils. That's when they're wound up. And here, piece goods. This is cargo that's so big it's just wrapped up and lashed down by itself. I don't know, they could be jet engines. I have no idea what this cargo is. Okay, but that is known as break bulk, just general cargo. Piece goods is another way you can say it, that come in containers like crates or bales or boxes or coils, or not, just piece goods on their own. Then you have bulk cargo. Bulk cargo has no containers. It is just sitting in the cargo hold by itself. The paragraph talked about, for example, coal. Here's a picture of coal down here. I think, I'm not quite sure, it could be scrap metal. It's got a grabber here, so this could be scrap metal. This definitely looks like sand, but it could be rice, it could be gravel. There's lots of different types of dry bulk cargo. And then you have a third type of cargo, which is palletized or containerized cargo, which generally will sit on a pallet. A forklift will lift it onto or off of the ship or into or out of the container. So those are our three basic types of cargo. I get into, with English for Mariners, if you see on my channel, I get into types of cargo more in Unit, I believe, 1 of English for Mariners, but I'm not going to get into that now. This is a general division between break bulk, bulk, which can be dry bulk cargo or liquid bulk cargo, and then palletized or containerized cargo. Okay, there's one more or two more definitions that I'd like to get into here just to explain the specifications of a vessel. When they talked about height and draft, well, actually, draft, there's actually two different types. And you can see the draft of a vessel, and you can see here, this is the British spelling here. It's not pronounced draught, it's still draft, and the American draft here. Well, you have the regular, we say a deep draft vessel, which is very low in the water. That goes from the water line to the lowest point of the vessel called the keel. The keel, this is the word here. So the draft is the measurement from the keel to the water line. And so, of course, it's going to have, a ship is going to have more draft if it's sinking lower in the water. The water line is going to be higher on the vessel, and it's going to be more draft. And when a ship is empty, it's got low draft because the water line is going to be higher up in the water. The water line is going to be lower. So draft changes according to the loaded condition of a ship, loaded or unloaded, as well as freeboard. If you see here, freeboard goes from the waterline to, well, this is the first deck above, the first deck above a watertight space. So let's just say that this is a hold. It's a watertight hold. And so this is the first deck above a watertight space is freeboard. And then the measurement down to the waterline. And now freeboard also is going to change according to whether the vessel is loaded or unloaded. Okay, and one more. Let's just throw in here under keel clearance, because draft is going to have to say a lot about what your UKC is. Because if you're a deep draft, you're going to have less UKC, under keel clearance, which is the clearance between the lowest part of the ship, the keel, and the sea beds. Okay, so draft is very important when coming into port, so the pilot knows how much room there's going to be for UKC, under keel clearance. All right, but then it gets even more. You have air draft. Air draft, and that's from the top, the very top highest point on the vessel, to the water line. And this, of course, is going to change whether the ship is loaded, fully loaded. There's going to be less of an air draft because the ship is going to be sinking deeper in the water. And if it's unloaded, it's going to be higher up in the water, and so it's going to be taller. And this is important for going under bridges, for example, and knowing your clearance. So air draft is important as well in certain ports where you have to clear a bridge. And then last but not least, you have the breadth. The breadth. That is the width of the vessel, and the width is taken midships. So we take from starboard to port, the entire width of the vessel is known as the breadth, or we can also call it the beam of a vessel, B-E-A-M. But we can just say breadth for right now. And that, of course, is important for going through canals like the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, how thin your ship has to be in order to get through that passage. Right, well, I think that's enough for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.